Hello, good evening, everyone. This is Deepa Chaudhary, and along with the World Peace Commission, we got a special series for you about an educational journey, a glimpses of life, where we have eminent personalities from the education world uh, giving their inspirational stories to people to inspire, motivate others who can learn from their learnings of life, their journey of life. So let's begin this series. But before that, let me thank our founder, Mr. Raja Rao, for providing us this platform for all of us to be here and learn from each other and mutually grow in this career journey and educational journey, glimpses of life. Here we bring to you. So today we have Dr. Shauli Mukherjee. She is the director of School of Education and Dean Students Affairs, Adamas University from Kolkata. However, she has a lot many feathers in her cap, but I will not tell about it. We will hear it directly from her. So we bring to you Dr. Shauli Mukherjee. Welcome, Shauli, on our show today.
Thank you so much, Deepa. Wishing you all a very, very good evening. Right at the very outset, I would like to thank Mr. Raja Rao for this wonderful platform and inviting me here to share the snippets of my educational journey. So thank you so much. Also, I would like to thank Deepa for that wonderful introduction. That was really kind and very warm, in fact. To tell you about myself, it has almost been 23 years now that I have been in the education sector. I have been the principal of some of the renowned and reputed international schools in West Bengal, out of which some of the schools had been exclusively founded by me as the founder principal, of which I must name at least one school, my brainchild, that is STEM World School, which was the first STEM school in the entire West Bengal region and which was also eventually awarded for being the second best international day school in the entire West Bengal region. Currently, I am the Director of Education and Dean Student Affairs at one of the premier universities of Eastern India, and that is Adamas University. Apart from that, as a thought leader, I'm associated with a number of premier educational organizations across India, as well as globally, in senior advisory position. And as a motivational speaker, I almost speak regularly and frequently on various and numerous national and international forums on topics pertaining to education and other allied topics and issues. Apart from my present stint with the university, that is as the Director and Dean of Adamas, I'm also the chairperson of Departmental Student Grievance Redressal Committee for School of Education, the Vice Chairperson of Faculty Council, the nominated university member for Board of Research, University Student Grievance Redressal Committee, University Internal Complaints Committee for matters pertaining to sexual harassment at workplace, nominated member of University Internal Committee for Students with Disabilities and Special Needs, nominated member of University Academic Council, and also the Senior Administrative Officer of University Internal Quality Assurance Cell. So this actually sort of, in a way, defines my role in the higher education sector as of currently. Apart from that, Deepa, I am the Executive Director Curriculum for Charles Walter Society for Innovation and Research. the brand ambassador and the state educational advisor from West Bengal for Wednesday Times, the national advisor for Sports Academy Association of India, the chairperson of the Education Board for Hope Ambassadors and Childcare Organization, Nigeria, advisory board member of Indo-Canada Education Council, ambassador and academic advisor for Women Reform Organization, Nigeria, chief of institute from Northeast of Indian Gulf Circuit, also the educational advisor to National Institute of Education in the Republic of Maldives, special board advisor of Jimha, Australia, ambassador of Commonwealth Entrepreneurs Club, United Kingdom, executive director of ITYM Foundation, which works towards youth empowerment, and last but not the least, the Peace Ambassador for India for Global Peace Foundation, UAE. So these are my current associations, apart from being the director and dean of Adamas University. I would also like to say that, in spite of all these associations which I have currently, the one thing which describes me completely and more truly is that I'm a passionate academician by heart. So this is something which I had always wanted to do, and this is what I'm doing currently, and this is something which I want to continue doing in the days to come. So for me, it has been, an example or an instance where I have turned my passion into my profession. And there has been a very, very fortunate and a very, very conscious intersection between what I always wanted to do and what I'm good at doing, something which we call as Ikigai. Ikigai is the greater purpose for which you live, the greater purpose which propels you to get up every day, every morning, and to do the kind of work that you want to do. So this is my greater purpose. This is my Ikigai. And that is to touch, to inspire, to motivate, and to impact the lives of many people around me, and to bring about a visible and tangible difference in the people's lives through the ennobling and powerful role and transformative role of education. So in short, if I have to describe myself, it's a combination of passion, excellence, and impact. That is what defines me. And I'm a person who is intrinsically motivated to give back to the world. That is something which propels me from the inner core of my heart to do the kind of work that I have been doing.
Wonderful, wonderful, Dr. Shauli. I have no words about it. I am astonished. How do you manage all of it? I mean, so many feathers in your cap and so many colorful indeed. So now, as you said, passion, compassion, impact, and that ikigai. Now, my another question to you is, how did you realize that? How did that come to you that this is the sector of education that I want to take up? We want to hear it right from the beginning, your journey, your education, and your choices in the field of education, then your career journey. How did it all start? Please tell us more about it.
So, Deepa, way back, before 2 decades or so, when I had actually started my career in the field of teaching, and it was in Kolkata, it was in a very reputed international day school in Kolkata, quite reputed, and it was doing quite well. And I started my teaching career from there as a middle school teacher of English. I had definitely come to the teaching profession out of choice, out of complete passion, and definitely not by any sort of compulsion, as I told you a little earlier. But it is definitely worthwhile to mention here that as I started with my career in teaching, I found a lot of things happening in the education sector which were not right, which was not going that right, you know. And the more I sort of delved deeper into it, the more I started feeling that the things that we're doing to the children is not quite right. So I am a kind of a person who has a very striking combination of a beginner's mindset and a challenging spirit intertwined together. So when I say beginner's mindset, it means that, I'm a very, very curious kind of a person, very inquisitive, full of questions. I always ask a lot of questions. This has been the case with me right from the very beginning, and this is also how I am right now. So I'm very, very responsive, flexible, adaptable towards learning new things. And that is what I mean by saying a beginner's mindset. But along with that, I always had a very challenging spirit, a questioning spirit, to challenge and to question things around me, which I felt have become redundant, which I have felt have become obsolete. So when I say challenging things which have become redundant and obsolete, I would like to refer to some of the fallacies which are embedded in our current education system. So, Deepa, if I start with the very disturbing statistics pertaining to the outcome of higher education in our country. So almost 50% of the graduates, they do not even land up getting a job after they complete their formal education. And employers would moreover reconfirm the fact that more than 80% of the ones who do manage to get the jobs are not skilled enough to retain that job, and they have to be reskilled and reoriented in the job front. So this is an ample testimony to the fact that if the aim of our current education system is to somewhat offer a decent living to the individuals after they have completed their formal higher education, we cannot help but agree to the fact that our current education system is miserably failing. And definitely there are solid reasons for that. There has been an ever-widening gap between academia and industry. Academia is failing to prepare the young learners to match up to the industry standards and expectations. And the major implications of that being that the system is increasingly churning out more job seekers rather than more job creators. That's a sorry state of affair. Apart from that, if you see our traditional and conventional educational norms, they always force the learners to draw and color within the lines, metaphorically speaking. That is to comply and to conform and to compete. Every child is given the same amount of time to learn the same thing in the same way and preferably on the same day. So there is no wonder that the children, they struggle to realize their true potential. We tend to forget as educators and as parents and as responsible adults that each and every child is born with a very, very unique blueprint. The child is very, very creative and very, very inquisitive to start off with. As Pablo Picasso had rightly said, that every child is a born artist. The challenge is to remain an artist when he or she grows up. And that is exactly what is happening in our current education system. If you see the system of the standardized testing, it tests the child's ability to conform and to comply. It does not give any weightage or leverage to the child's ability to create and innovate. Right from the very beginning, right from the very childhood, as teachers, as educators, parents, whatever, we always tell the child to color within the lines, and then we expect the same child to develop into an out-of-the-box thinker when he or she grows up. What an irony. We tend to applaud the child, rather the children, when they come up with correct answers, the same correct answers. But there is not a single exercise in the current education system where we encourage the children when they come up with a meaningful, correct, and thoughtful question. You see, our system encourages and gives a lot of weightage to only one kind of quotient, and that is intelligence quotient. It's always IQ, IQ, and IQ. What about the other quotients? What about EQ? With significant research has proved that more than 80% of your success, either in your professional or your personal life, depends on your EQ and not on your IQ. It depends on how you're able to manage your emotions, how you're able to express your emotions, how you're able to understand the emotions of others. So if that is so, why does our current education system give so much of importance to intelligence quotient only and not on EQ? Apart from that, you also see that, right from the very childhood, we always, tell our children that you have to come first in everything, be it in academics or in sports or anything. You have to come first. So competition, rather cutthroat competition, is very, very important. But the two important skill sets that are required to thrive in the 21st century world happens to be collaboration and cooperation, and not cutthroat competition. So you see, these are the things that we have been doing wrong for so many years. And, I, right from the very beginning of my career as a teacher, I kept on asking myself that why are we doing things like this? And these sort of acted as powerful triggers to enable me to think and act in different ways. And that ultimately led to my finding a school with a real difference, and that is STEM World School, which was a school with a real difference where there are no standardized tests, there are no homeworks, there are even no textbooks till the primary level, and it's completely activity-oriented and experiential form of learning, where the happiness quotient of the children are very high. And eventually that school was awarded as the second best international day school in the entire West Bengal region. So it all started from introspecting and reflecting and asking these difficult questions, that we are not supposed to do things in this way. So I always felt, Deepa, that our current education system does not require any reformation, any quick tweak, or a kind of a repair. Because when we say reformation, it means you are repairing a broken model. So that is not what it requires. What our current education system requires is a complete overhaul, a complete revolution. Nothing short of a revolution will work for our current education system. And we are in the 21st century. We're dealing with the 21st century youngsters who require completely different skill sets in order to face the global challenges and in order to thrive in that particular world. So what are we doing to them? We cannot subject them to the rote learning anymore. We have to nurture their creativity. We have to nurture their inquisitive spirit. We have to nurture their individuality. We have to bring out the best in them. And if we as educators fail in doing that, we fail as a society, we fail as a nation, we fail as a world. That's my take.
Very well said. And I totally agree with you that the education system is emphasizing more on IQ than EQ. See, me coming from a corporate world, and we truly value EQ. EQ is a stepping stone to your leadership hierarchy. It is very much valued in that world. But of course, I truly understand your concern that it has to be inculcated right from the root level, which is not. We emphasize a lot on IQ, and of course, as you said, that you have to get the best of the grades and you have to come first in the class. However, in the corporate world, we understand that attitude is important than aptitude. They say that, okay, we can come over, and if your attitude is right, you're trainable, we'll train you. We'll train you. There are basics of it, technicalities and something. We can train you on fewer of the aspects, provided you have that learning attitude. So very much, I truly agree with whatever you have said. But as coming to the point where you mentioned that the education system in India requires a revolution, right? However, I want to know your views on the new education policy that has come up. So, what's your take on that, and how do you see that? How much of a revolutionary policy is it?
Apart from being a revolutionary policy, what I feel is that this is the need of the hour. This was long pending, this was long due. So, this was something which our educational fraternity needed. But Deepa, what I believe is that we don't need governments to tell us what kind of education should we give our children. You know, we are all educated, we are all matured, and we know exactly how, the parenting should be there. I mean, when I say parenting, it's not only about parents, it's also about educators. If you say, the major problem lies in the fact that even as parents or as educators, we tend to give more emphasis on what the child can't do rather than what the child can do. So we always tend to emphasize that this is what he is not able to do. But we rarely emphasize on the fact that this is what my child is very good at. So we have to stop emphasizing on what my children can't do, and we have to start emphasizing on what the child can do. If you ask a question to a child, a very, very simple question, that what you want to become when you grow up, the child will come up with excellent answers. Because the child is very, very imaginative. Child is very creative. And for that single child, nothing is impossible. Everything is possible. And the child is a natural moonshot thinker. So will come up with excellent answers. But you ask the same individual the same question when he or she is around, say, 15 or 16 years old. You will be getting a completely different kind of an answer. And that you will be getting a different kind of an answer in terms of content, but also in terms of passion. Because the damage has already been done. And who is doing this damage? The educators, the parents, who have always taught the child right from the very beginning that external validation is so very important. Your report card is important. Your mark sheet is important. Your scores and grades are so very important. It is not important how many times you are failing and learning new skills. That's not important. Outcome is important rather than the process. See what kind of damage we are doing to the children. This is the hallmark of a growth mentality, of a growth mindset. If you want to create a growth mindset in your children, you have to emphasize on the process and not on the outcome. Because it is only through the process that the child learns through multiple failures, through multiple mistakes. what to exactly do. I mean, we cannot stigmatize failures and mistakes. As responsible educators, we have to stop stigmatizing failures and mistakes. And we have to understand and acknowledge and tell our children that, look, this is how you develop in the true sense of the term. I'm so happy that our new educational policy addresses a lot of these issues in a very, very comprehensive manner. When the new educational policy speaks about activity-oriented curriculum, activity-oriented pedagogy, experiential learning, doing away with rote learning, I think the national education policy has already addressed these vital issues. But again, having said so, Deepa, I feel that everything depends on the way in which you implement it. So let us just, wait to see how it is getting implemented. Again, who is going to implement it? Who is actually going to implement this revolutionary new educational policy? People with the same decadent mentality? Absolutely, then nothing good will come out of it. So what it is required is a complete mindset shift, a paradigm shift in the mindset. That what is true education all about? It's not a degree, it's not a certificate at the end of your educational journey. It's that protocol or role model of a holistic individual that you have been able to evolve into. That is what true education is all about. If you're happy in your life, if you're fulfilled in your life, if you're living a life of purpose, you have been educated in the true sense of the term. So it's high time that right from the kindergarten to higher education, people, those who are involved in this sector, they start thinking about it. They start delivering education with greater purpose and meaning. Otherwise, you can come up with multiple policies. The policies will definitely not work. The policy is definitely wonderful in terms of its content, in terms of its revolutionary outlook. But again, as I say, it all depends on how you implement and who is going to implement. That is very important.
I can resonate with that when you said that social validation is very important. And what further deteriorates is when we compare our kids, our children with others. And not only pressurizing them for the grades and report cards and good marks, but when we compare them with other children or the neighbors' children, our friends' children, that, as you very rightly said, that mindset shift is required. And I hope that comes up with our generation coming up, with the new millennials who are there now coming up. And if we have that mindset, which I think is there in my circle, I can tell you about that as only. But because we are the millennials, what we have gone through, we don't want our kids to go through that. So I hope with that, a change is there. We become the change makers and we initiate all these things. Hope for the best. Coming to you, Shauli. So my next question to you is, what do you think is one thing, if you go back in your life journey and that decision where you can say, if I could change this one, my life would have taken a different turn, a different angle. What can that be? If you can think of any.
Deepa, I have a completely different perspective on this. Because if you're asking me about, indirectly, if you're asking me about any kind of regrets that I may have in my life, let me tell you, I have none. I have none. In the sense that I live a life of purpose, of meaning, and fulfillment. this is the kind of the work which I've always wanted to do, and this is the kind of a work that I have been doing right now. And this is the kind of work that I want to continue doing. So absolutely, there are no regrets over certain decisions which I may not have taken in a very correct manner. But having said so, there have been numerous mistakes, there have been numerous failures, numerous experiences which have taught me a lot of important lessons in my life. And as I told you, that I'm a very, very introspective and a very, very self-reflective person. So I think a lot before taking a particular decision. I'm very decisive in that sense. I will think 10 times before taking a decision. But once the decision is made, I don't look back. And if I have to look back, I will only introspect and self-reflect. But I will not think that, oh my God, why have I taken that particular decision? So that is not the kind of a person that I am. So in terms of regrets, absolutely no regrets. I'm a very, very happy, satisfied, contented, and fulfilled person from within.
Let me put it that way. If we look at Shauli, the schoolgirl, and here we have Dr. Shauli Mukherjee, what do you think has changed in the personalities and in the mindset?
Very interesting question. But rather, I would like to answer it in a different manner by stating that I see a lot of continuity. I see a lot of evolution. I see a lot of growth. I see a lot of dreams getting matured over time and over the years. So, as a child, I have always been a very, very vocal and articulate child, a very curious one, always with loads and loads of questions about everything and anything around me. You see, that is exactly the kind of a person that I am right now, and that has helped me in my educational journey. I still now ask a lot of questions. I challenge the status quo. And that is exactly what gives the purpose and meaning to my journey and to my life. Let me just give you one, very simple example. Right at the very beginning of my career as a teacher, I used to ask this question to myself as well as to my fellow teachers and colleagues, that why do teachers use only red pen for correction? Can you tell me why? Why it's only red pen for correction? I mean, teachers, they always use red ink pen for correction. First, it has been proved that the color red is a very, very strong and a vibrant color. And when you cross out or when you write comments with the color red, that produces a very, very deep impact on a child's psyche. Why do we use the color red? There are multiple colored inks which we can use. So I kept on asking this question, before 20 years maybe. And just before 5 to 6 years, when my STEM World School was founded, that was the first norm, that the teachers will not use red coloring. The teachers will use multiple colored inks for corrections and for comments, because a child's life and a child's outlook is very, very colorful. And we do not have any right in giving them a big slap on their face by writing something so strongly with a red colored ink. So I just gave you an example to just, to show that how these simple questions acted as powerful triggers in my life to create something meaningful in the future. So that is the kind of a person that I am.
Okay, let me ask you another question, which is intertwined. Now, in my question, there are two questions. Okay, so number one, what do you look at the way forward? And what I understand is you have so many feathers in your cap and you want to take up that journey itself. Apart from that, what is the message that you want to give to the educationists, the freshers, the beginners in this field? Is there something, tricks, tactics, a message, inspiration, things that they should keep in mind for this growth journey? What would that be from Dr. Shauli Mukherjee?
Thank you for this question. Very nice question. Deepa, I would like to say that currently I'm in the field of teacher education. As the director of School of Education, my students are the ones who come to us for doing their B.Ed, their bachelor's in education, and their PhDs in education. So these are the students that we have in our university directly under me. So there are two things which I always, tell them. That it's high time that we should realize that teaching is not a mechanical task of transferring knowledge and content from one to another. It is rather one of the most creative and one of the most sophisticated professions in the world, which creates all the other professions in the world. And it's still true that in the hands of the teachers, the entire future of our nation and the world lies. And that it is through the teachers that there is an evolution of each and every young individual into their very best, their highest, and their greatest version of themselves. That is one thing which I always tell them. And the second thing is, we usually make a mistake of referring ourselves as teacher of English or teacher of science or teacher of geography or teacher of maths. So that is not what we are. When we refer to us as these titles, we tend to make a very, very important mistake that we are teaching subjects. We are not teaching subjects. We are teaching individuals. We are teaching human beings. So the human element in teaching has to be brought back. Because the children are very much like the natural resources. They often lie buried and they don't show up if you don't give them that proper climate to thrive and if you're not looking out for them. So you have to create that appropriate climate where they will be showing up and they will be evolving into the kind of a personality that they were meant to be. And it's high time that the educators, that the teaching fraternity should realize that the world does not care how much you know. What the world cares is what you want to do with what you know. And for that, it's very important to understand why you are doing what you are doing. The world doesn't require mechanical minds which are loaded with facts and figures, minds which are systematically formulated to think alike. No, that is not what the world requires. What the world requires are minds which are creative, innovative, capable of out-of-the-box ideation and divergent thinking. That is what the world requires. And who is going to nurture these minds? The educators, the teachers. So the teachers have enormous responsibility. At the same time, they have tremendous power to make it happen. So it is a potent combination of power and responsibility. And definitely it is not an overnight success. There's nothing like overnight success for a teacher. It's loads and loads of hard work, dedication, sincerity, sleepless nights, and tremendous efforts. But the reward for that is also enormous, and you don't get it immediately. If you're looking out for an immediate reward, teaching is not the career that you should go into. Because there is nothing like overnight success and immediate reward. But it is that kind of a reward which you get after maybe 20 years or 25 years when a student pinpoints to you and says that it's because of her, it's because of this ma'am that today I am what I am. That is your greatest reward. And that comes with painstaking effort, selfless service. That is not everyone's cup of tea. So if you're really meant for that, and if you're totally brimming with energy to create a real difference in the lives of the young people, you're most welcome to come to the teaching profession. Otherwise, there are so many other professions.
Thank you. Thank you so much, Dr. Shauli. Of course, that was a wonderful message to the upcoming educationists. And you are truly an inspiration. It was my pleasure to host you on this session and this interaction with you. I thoroughly enjoyed it. And now let me hand over to our founder of World Peace Commission, Mr. Rajarao Pagidali. Over to you, sir.
Thank you, Deepa ma'am. Thank you so much.
So you're muted. Please unmute yourself.
Thank you, ma'am. Thank you so much for this wonderful session. Actually, when I said glimpses of life, people are feeling that it's going to be entirely their personal life, their family, children, etc., etc. But Shauli ma'am, I appreciate you personally because you set a bar for the next guest because they have to overtake you such a way you have laid your impact on this program. And really, thank you so much. From the beginning of this program, you never ever crossed the title that we have given to you, an educational journey. Really amazing, ma'am. You have given beautiful insights because education empowers everyone. Such a way you have enlightened everyone. Thank you so much for Shauli, ma'am. And I hope we'll meet you soon again in one more program with you. Because due to time constraints, we reduced the time to 15 minutes. Anyway, thank you so much, ma'am. And I want to thank our moderator, Deepa Chaudhary, ma'am. Really, thank you for your wonderful presence and wonderful coordinating. And all our audience, those who are watching this program and the guests who attended this program, thank you all. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much. With that, we end this today's session. Thank you, everyone. Have a good day. Bye-bye.
Thank you. Thank you